What's up, Raider Nation? Welcome to the True Raider Podcast. I'm your host, True Raider. Now, we got a couple of things that are just kind of hitting all over, and I really want to talk about it, man. But first off, I want to just give a big shout out to everybody that's been joining for the watch parties, man. You guys have been great, have been having great chats. I really appreciate all that, man. So let's jump right into this, man. So the first thing that I want to talk about today is that the Raiders all of a sudden are out a quarterback. And if you have not seen it and you weren't watching the preseason game against the Cardinals, what has happened is Aiden O'Connell suffered a wrist injury and he went out of the game, and on top of the fact that he's just been kind of playing horrible all preseason, Aiden O'Connell has gone down with an injury. It is confirmed to be a wrist fracture, and he is expected to miss anywhere from 6 to 8 weeks. When Pete Carroll was talking about it in the press conference, he basically said it's going to be about 8 weeks. So there's a lot of speculation of what does that look like? Is Cam Miller going to be our backup? What can we come to expect from the upcoming days, and I mean days, from the Raiders and this roster decision? And Pete Carroll made it very clear in the press conference that, Cam Miller is just not really ready yet, right? He wants somebody who has game experience, and Cam Miller does not have NFL game experience, right? And he said that, like, he's new, and basically he needs some more games to play, probably looking at a year or two at least, before he wants him to be in a position where he just kind of gets thrown into being our starting quarterback, right? Because God forbid, Geno Smith goes down with an injury, and then all of a sudden we're in this really rough position where Cam Miller could end up being our starting quarterback in that case, right? And, we got a couple of like extra quarterbacks. So if you want to say, well, we need, a third option for quarterback, really what we have is Jacoby Myers can play quarterback, and so can Tommy Millot. But they're listed as wide receivers, right? And so John Cena with the follow, I can't see you though. But basically what's going on is that we're going to be in the market for another backup quarterback, right? And so there's a lot of speculation right now of what is that going to look like. And a lot of people are pointing towards the Browns, right? They're saying, well, there's Shedeur Sanders, there's Dylan Gabriel, there's Snoop Huntley, there's Kenny Pickett. They got a lot of quarterbacks over. They got like 5 quarterbacks. So real quick, I want to read this article, man, and then we're going to jump into it. Let me pull this up real quick. And this is from heavy.com. And it says, Raiders QB Aiden O'Connell gets brutal news on injury after final preseason game. The Las Vegas Raiders and third-year QB Aiden O'Connell got some devastating news on the injury front early Sunday morning. O'Connell, the Raiders' backup quarterback, suffered a fractured wrist in Saturday's preseason action and is expected to miss between 6 and 8 weeks, per Ari Mirov. I can't say that name. Anyway, this leaves the Raiders in a dire quarterback predicament. Geno Smith, the former starter in Seattle, was acquired in a trade this offseason to be the new quarterback in Las Vegas. He's stable at the top of the depth chart, but O'Connell was supposed to be the primary backup. He has plenty of starting experience in the NFL, despite this being his third year in the league, and he offers stability in that role. With this injury, 6th-round rookie Cam Miller is the only healthy passer on the roster aside from Smith. So it's saying O'Connell offers a high floor as a backup quarterback. Though he wasn't initially drafted to be the starter, O'Connell was thrust into that role as a rookie and played extensively in his second season as well. Across his 2 years in the league, he started 17 games for Las Vegas, putting up a combined stat line of 3,380 passing yards and 20 touchdowns to 11 interceptions on a 62.6% completion rate. He added 41 rushing yards and 2 touchdowns on the ground as well. O'Connell is a former walk-on at Purdue, and he began the 2019 season as a seventh-string quarterback on the depth chart. Due to a rash of injuries, he started several games that season and played well, eventually cementing himself as the long-term starter and becoming one of the best quarterbacks in the Big Ten. He was a fourth-round pick by the Raiders in 2023. So what are the Las Vegas Raiders' options at quarterback with this news? With O'Connell set to miss up to a month and a half of the season, the Raiders will probably be in the market for a new backup quarterback. It's unlikely they'll want Miller to be one injury away from checking into a game, so they'll examine their options. They could inquire with the Browns, who are set to enter the season with 4 quarterbacks on the active roster. Cleveland won't part with their starter, Joe Flacco, or third-round rookie Dylan Gabriel, but perhaps the Raiders could pry away Kenny Pickett or fifth-round rookie Shedeur Sanders, who's coming off a poor preseason performance. The Eagles are another option, as they just traded for former Vikings QB Sam Howell this morning. With Tanner McKee and Howell the likely backups behind starter Jalen Hurts, that leaves rookie Kyle McCord and Dorian Thompson-Robinson on the outside looking in for a roster spot. The Raiders could also wait until the roster cuts are finalized and claim to or sign one of the cut quarterbacks, but that's a risky move. None of their preferred options become available. So I will share that Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Adam Schefter posted about 2 hours ago that he got cut. So Dorian Thompson-Robinson is on the market. However, when Pete Carroll talked about this in the presser, he said that he's looking for a quarterback that has in-game experience in the NFL, right? So that's what we're looking at. I'm seeing a whole lot of do not get Shedeur Sanders over here on TikTok. I'm seeing Jason Downs, salute, what's good? Billy Davis, one of the model Raiders, salute, man. Glad you made it. Jason, good to see you again, man. That's a cool picture. Chewy with the what up? Good to see you guys, man. So really what we're looking at is who's going to get cut and who's not, is probably the most likely scenarios. I do want to pull up another image because this is something that I saw, and this was QB2 that the Raiders could sign or trade. And it's talking about Trey Lance, Shedeur Sanders, Dylan Gabriel, Tyler Huntley, Anthony Richardson, Dorian Thompson-Robinson, Carson Wentz, Marcus Mariota, and Kyle Trask. Now, Trey Lance is not going anywhere. He is the backup. Bunky with the follow. Salute. Trey Lance is definitely the backup quarterback for the hold up, man. I just had a weird thing happen on my computer. Okay. He's definitely the backup for the Chargers right now. There's no question about it. I think that they're not going to move on from him. Why would you want to move on from Trey Lance right now? They definitely have a good backup there, right? I got to pull this up on the screen. What is this, man? Raider Age straight. Eat lightning, crap thunder, break autumn wind, bro. That shit is funny, man. What's up, Yoshi? Good to see you, man. So Trey Lance ain't going nowhere, right? The Chargers are going to hold on to him for sure. Shedeur Sanders, on the other hand, he played awful in this last game. The game before that, he played great. But the thing about Shedeur Sanders is that he fell all the way to the 5th round in the draft. We had plenty of time to go and pick him up if that's what we wanted to do. So why would we go out there and trade draft capital for Shedeur Sanders right now? I think the only way we end up with the Shedeur Sanders is if he ends up getting cut. Then maybe we would go ahead and take a chance on him, but I really, really doubt it, man. I really, really doubt that. So then Dylan Gabriel. Browns are not going to let go of Dylan Gabriel. He is probably higher on the depth chart than Shedeur Sanders, and I think that they're going to hold on to him. Tyler Huntley, Snoop, he was actually released by the Browns. Eddie with the follow, salute, man. So Tyler Huntley is an option, though he doesn't have a whole lot of NFL game experience. He has been around for a while, and he could be a pretty good option. And I think that there's a pretty good likelihood that we might end up with him. He fits what would be a good backup in Chip Kelly's offense. He does have quite a bit of experience, and I think that he is a name to look out for sure. Anthony Richardson. I really, really like Anthony Richardson coming out of college. I really thought that we should go ahead and take a flyer on him, but I didn't think that he was going to go number 3 overall. I think that was a sloppy pickup by the Colts because the dude is not ready. Right now he is super, super young. He's younger than most of the rookie quarterbacks right now, and he's been in the NFL for 2 seasons. So, I'm not really high on what he's done in the NFL, but if you look at the skill set of Anthony Richardson, he's a hell of an athlete. The dude has a hell of an arm. He just really needs a whole lot of work to be groomed into being an actual quarterback in the NFL. And so I don't think that the Colts are gonna let go of Anthony Richardson because come on, man. I mean, look at their stuff. There's a reason why the Giants went ahead and got rid of Daniel Jones, is that he is not very consistent, and there's a possibility he goes to the Colts and he has like a resurgence in his career and he becomes that guy, right? But the Colts are going to want to wait around to find out. Anthony Richardson suffered another injury during the preseason, and I think that that's why they're moving forward with Daniel Jones. I don't think that it's that they're out on Anthony Richardson, so I would kind of count him off the list because I really, really doubt that they're going to do that. Boost with the follow salute, man. Dorian Thompson-Robinson. He does not have a whole lot of game experience in the NFL. I was just talking about him, but he's very fresh to this. I don't think that that's going to be the move that Pete Carroll wants to make. Although I did like him coming out of college, and I think that there is a possibility that maybe we go that route because maybe he's the most inviting quarterback that we could go for. Kron, is Mariota available? Mariota is on the Broncos, so I doubt it. For Tommy with the follow salute. So I really doubt that they're going to move on from Mariota. He is their backup. And then Kyle Trask. And really what it comes down to, man, is I don't really like most of these options. I do think that Tyler Huntley is pretty likely. I think Dorian Thompson-Robinson is pretty likely. Carson Wentz just signed with was it the Chiefs or was it with the Vikings? Man, I could have sworn it was the Chiefs. But he's off the market, unavailable. That's not happening, right? I mean, that's crazy, man. It's not going to let me stop sharing screen. There we go. All right. So those are a whole lot of the options that are kind of laid out for us right now, and it's not looking super great, right? Not looking super great at all. So I also want to bring up one other kind of dark horse that I haven't really seen a whole lot of mention of, right? And this one I think could really, really be a possibility. So we're going to go ahead and pull him up. And this is Ryan Tannehill. Now, Ryan Tannehill, he's 37 years old, right? He's quite older, which kind of fits what Pete Carroll was talking about, right? Because he said that he wanted to be able to pick up a backup quarterback who has game experience in the NFL. Now, Ryan Tannehill had an injury year before last, so he didn't play last year. The Titans let his contract expire, and he sat out all of last season, right? But if you look at Tannehill, he came in the league in 2012 to Miami, and then, he played there for 6 years, and then he went to the Titans for 5 years, right? And this dude, I mean, he's never been somebody that I'm very high on, right? He has decent completion percentage in the 60s, up to 70. As a rookie, as low as 58. The passing yards are kind of there. I mean, when he's staying healthy, like in 2020, 2021, he threw for 3,800 yards, 33 touchdowns in 2020, which is kind of a shocker for me. But, there was a kind of a slump after that. 21 touchdowns and 14 interceptions in 21. In 2022, he only played 12 games, 13 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. And then 2023, he played in 10 games. He only threw 4 touchdowns. I don't think he started a whole lot of those, but what we're looking at right here is somebody that fits that mold. He is a run threat. He can put up some rushing yards. He's kind of older though, right? And so I think that when Pete Carroll was saying that they want a quarterback who's experienced in game in the NFL, I think that he was sitting there daydreaming about Ryan Tannehill as a backup, right? This is a veteran guy who brings a whole lot of experience. And I think that he'd probably be not only the most likely for us to go ahead and pick up as a backup quarterback, but he'd probably be our best option, which also brings up the question, has Aiden O'Connell played his last snap as a Las Vegas Raider? Right. And I got to tell you guys that I think that it's pretty likely. Aiden O'Connell, he put up 62 points against the Chargers. He showed a lot of promise. He showed a lot of inconsistency. A lot of it felt like he was just not given the right circumstance to succeed. When I watched his college tape, it's not extremely great, but this is a guy that could develop into somebody that could be a legitimate threat at quarterback in this league. However, I don't think he fits Chip Kelly's system. I know that Pete Carroll has said good things about him, but he was also talking about how Aiden O'Connell slows down the game, right? He slows down the tempo of the game, and it puts us in a position where we're not being able to get snaps off as quick as we would like. And so there's a pretty good likelihood that if we sign somebody like a Ryan Tannehill, that maybe we don't keep Aiden O'Connell around. And I don't know what that's going to look like. I do know that we are going to pursue a quarterback. So I would expect probably tomorrow that we're going to sign a quarterback unless they're looking to see who gets cut. Because all the 53-man rosters are due on Tuesday, right? And so we're going to see what that looks like. James A is saying get Sanders. A whole lot of people on TikTok were saying don't get Sanders. Shedeur Sanders has the potential to be a very good quarterback. If you guys watched that preseason game with him yesterday, he looked awful. He looked absolutely awful. And a big part of that, and a lot of people are saying, well, I think that they put him in a position to fail on purpose, and they put him with third stringers and da 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 da. And the thing is, man, is that he was also playing against people on that level, right? I think he needs a lot of work. And so he doesn't fit what Pete Carroll was talking about of wanting to bring in a quarterback that has NFL experience in game. And so I don't think that we'd end up with a Shedeur Sanders. I think that there's potential that we might consider it if the Browns cut him and we haven't signed another backup quarterback by then. They might be a little bit more willing because they really want to develop Cam Miller. And so maybe they're thinking that Shedeur Sanders is a guy that they could go ahead and throw in game, and not take the time to develop, but I highly doubt it. I think if we were ever going to get Shedeur Sanders, we would have got him during the draft. Will, put Miller with the rest of the first team players if Geno get hurt. Miller looked like he's slung a couple pretty well on a final drive versus the Cardinals and had good college record, beats trading capital. I think that Cam Miller would probably even play a better as a backup than Aiden O'Connell. I think that they're worried about him going in too soon and it stunting his development, right? Because you can get a quarterback who played in a small school in South Dakota, right? And even though he's used to the pressure, he's used to the big games, and that stuff doesn't really affect him. You throw him in to start, let's say Geno Smith gets injured at some point, knock on wood. Let's say he gets injured at some point, and then you're in a spot where all of a sudden Cam Miller's starting and it's not going well for him. It could really shake his confidence in a way that's unrepairable. And so I think that there's a whole lot of danger when it comes to relying on Cam Miller to be the backup. Not to mention he had a great drive against the Seahawks. That fourth quarter he played great, right? He had a couple of drives. And then since then it hasn't looked nearly as good, right? And so I'm a little, I don't know, man. What's going on over here? Green chili vibes. What's up, man? You in New Mexico or what? What's with Cowboys fan and Raider fan loving Sanders? I'm telling you, I don't love Sanders. I think that he brings a lot of um, kind of bad things with him, right? Like if you were watching the preseason game yesterday when Dylan Gabriel got benched finally and they put in Shador Sanders, the crowd started like screaming and getting all excited. And so it could really put your fan base in a spot where there's a whole lot of division. It brings a lot of press to him, which could be good and it could be bad. There's a lot of weird ways that could go. And I don't know if you guys saw, but Shiloh Sanders, Shador Sanders' brother, has been cut from the Tampa Bay Bucks because he punched a Bills player in the face, right? And so there's a lot of concerns in a lot of different areas, man. When it comes to this, I think Deion Sanders meddling too much really kind of is the reason why Shador Sanders fell to the fifth round. Not to mention the way he interviewed. Is his talent there? Yeah, the dude is talented and can develop for sure. But for him to fall to the fifth, they were sending a message. Let's see. I think it's time for the Raiders to cut their losses with O'Connell. Ficus berries. I think that might be the case, man. Let's see. Dorian Thompson Robinson coming to LV. He did get cut, and I think that there's a lot of potential that he could be the guy. I was talking about that. See, James is saying, seen enough of Aiden, he had his cup of coffee. And I think that Aiden O'Connell had plenty of time to try to prove himself, but it really just didn't shake out for him, man. It really did not. I don't know, man. I think that we've seen enough. I would have liked to see him be the starter over Garner Minshew last year, but, Miguel with the follow salute, man. Um, the thing is, man, is that Aiden O'Connell, he's had enough games to prove himself. For him to be so inconsistent in the preseason this year with twos and threes out on the field, I think we got to kind of be looking forward for the future, right? Raider 510, is Anthony Richardson even available for a trade? I do not think that Anthony Richardson is actually available for a trade. If I were the Colts, I wouldn't even be considering it. They spent a number 3 overall pick on him. And so I think that they believe that they still have a guy that's going to develop in the next couple of years. He's not old at all. He's very, very young. I think he's like 21 or 22. Correct me if I'm wrong. But he is super, super young. I gotta check out this comment. Ron said, I coached Trey Tucker in high school and I hope he does awesome for you guys. He is a great young man. So Trey Tucker is actually on our depth chart as our wide receiver 2 right now. And I hope that continues because I really like Trey Tucker a lot. But Dante Thornton Jr. is really giving him a lot of competition for that position. WC Ready with the follow. Salute. E5 Toro, go silver and black, but Raiders suck. What are you talking about, bro? I shouldn't even pulled your shit up. Jason Downs, Cam is a couple of years away from being an NFL quarterback. He needs a lot. Yeah, he has a whole lot to learn, right? He's going to go a long way, and the way that I know that is because he's got a long way to go. You know what I'm saying? No hate towards him at all. I like Cam Miller. I think that he reminds me a whole lot of Brock Purdy. And so I would like to see what that ends up developing into, but I don't want to throw him out too soon. And it could be that if he's the number 2 quarterback on the roster, Geno Smith gets hurt, all of a sudden you have a situation like what happened with Brock Purdy where he gets thrown in there, he's not ready, but then he goes in there and wins a bunch of games, right? Mr. Irrelevant, gets the starting job, and now he's got a big contract. That is actually a possibility, but I would like to see us get somebody like a Ryan Tannehill or something like that, Dorian Thompson Robinson, Tyler Huntley, somebody who's got a little bit more experience. That way, Cam Miller doesn't get thrown in too soon and he can really, truly develop. I would love to see that. Absolutely. Warb, what's going on, man? DTR, go get him. He knows Chip Kelly. Don't worry about what happened with the Eagles. Kelly has worked with him 5 years. Remember, Gino was the same. All right, dude. I got to say that the relationship ties that have happened so far this offseason are something to seriously look at. What's the connection though with Chip Kelly and DTR? Because Chip Kelly was not with the Eagles when DTR ended up over there, and so I'm really curious to see what that is. RL with the follow, salute, man. Ron said if Trey would have wrestled in high school, he would have been a multiple state champ in Ohio. Okay, that's interesting, man. I wonder what was going on in practice. Let's see. James said Chip gonna work in the NFL. Yeah, Chip Kelly is our offensive coordinator, actually, James. And he's really found his spot as an offensive coordinator. I think that he learned throughout being a head coach in the NFL and in college that he doesn't really like being a head coach. He likes being an offensive coordinator. That's what he enjoys doing. And so that's where he wants to be, man. Let me see. Jason Down says, I'm serious when I say call the Rams, see what the price is for Bennett. What that kid has really turned it around. You know, Bennett, Stetson Bennett is older. He right now, Matthew Stafford is dealing with a back injury where he actually got an epidural on his back a couple weeks ago. And so I don't think that they're trying to move on from any of their quarterbacks at all. I think that they want to hold on to them as best they can. And I think that's really the best decision for the Rams is to hold on for dear life, basically. Because Matthew Stafford, if he's gone, Jimmy Garoppolo is not the guy. You know, you'll have Devontae Adams throwing fits in the locker room again. I mean, it should be entertaining. So Raider Nation 510 is saying Anthony Richardson is his first choice. Jameis Winston, second. Jameis Winston, man. Right now, he's like the third string quarterback on the Giants. The Giants, he might be the fourth string. No, he's third string, right? But Russell Wilson is definitely their clear starter. Jackson Dart should be that dude is looking great, but I think that they want to sit him for a year under Russell Wilson. That way, Jackson Dart can really develop, and I think that that's the best decision for them. Which puts Jameis Winston on the outs. I think that they would like to move into next year with Jackson Dart being their starter and Jameis Winston as their backup. But honestly, I don't know if that's the way it's going to go for them. I really think that I don't know. Actually, you know what? They're probably going to hold on to him. And for us to get Jameis Winston, I don't really like him very much. He is a talented quarterback. He can get a whole lot done in the passing game, in the running game. But the dude is a liability. His decision making is very questionable at best. And I don't know, man. As a backup, sure, okay, I could see it, and he fits what Pete Carroll was talking about bringing in a quarterback with some NFL game experience. So there is a possibility. Quarb is saying that Brock Purdy was an instant success, though. Cam Miller will be a backup. He's 24 now. Raiders need their future QB. Look at our division. No way in hell, Cam Miller. You know, the likelihood of Cam Miller having that same kind of success is pretty slim. And so there's a whole lot of speculation that right now Cam Miller is going to be our future starting quarterback, and that's why we picked him up. I don't know that that's why we picked him up. I think that we ended up picking him up just to see, right? Let's take a flyer on him. Let's go ahead and see if we can develop him over the next couple of years. But they're going to be looking at quarterbacks in the draft. Scott Smith with the follow. Salute, man. Miguel said, I wanted CJ Stroud as the Raiders QB. Man, I wanted Stroud so bad, and that just did not shake out for us. I wanted Jeez, I'm forgetting his name right now. And Daniel, Jaden Daniels. Jeez, man, Jaden Daniels is a guy I really, really, really wanted. But it was clear that both those guys were going to be great QBs coming into the league. It is very clear that Anthony Richardson and Bryce Young were going to be like struggling for a couple years and maybe develop. You know, yeah, Jason, I agree. Thank God it didn't happen that we almost ended up with Stafford. If we were looking at like, oh, he might start because he has a back injury, I'd be a little bit nervous, man. I'm not gonna lie, man. I would be nervous about that. Let's see, Guarabara. No more slow white QBs, not being racist, but they always look bad on our team, and I'm white, so I can say that. Um, I think just slow QBs in general, right? The way Peaches with the follow salute, the way that the NFL is really changing is pocket passers are a thing of the past. Man. They really are. You need a quarterback who can really, really extend plays, be a run threat, especially with Chip Kelly calling our offense. I mean, that's just where we are right now. You know, so far, no good for Cam Miller. Even the last two quarters against apples to apples in competition. Yeah, I mean the Seattle game looked great, and people are really attached to that. And that's the thing, right? Is that Aiden O'Connell, they saw Aiden O'Connell put up 62 points against the Chargers, and everybody's like, "Oh, Aiden O'Connell's the next Tom Brady." No, he's not. He's not. Right? Is he? Does he have potential? Yes, but he's just his processing speed is too slow, and there's only so much you can do to really, really do that. You know what I'm saying? Um, Raider aid straight. How about Jameis Winston? We just talked about Jameis Winston. Robert with the follow salute, man. And Jameis Winston, he's too much of a loose cannon. But I think that our most likely quarterbacks in order to sign would be Ryan Tannehill, um, Tyler Huntley, Jameis Winston. If the Giants are going to move on from him, because what are we going to do? Trade for him? I mean, they might trade him for like a seventh, maybe. And then Dorian Thompson Robinson, right? Those are the four names I think that we need to look out for. That's really where I stand. All right, man. We're about 30 minutes in, and I wanted to talk about our 53-man roster projection. And our 53-man roster projection, I've done a couple of these, but let's go ahead and pull this up, man, because we only got 2 more days until we have our official 53-man roster, right? So I'm very, very curious to see what this ends up looking like. Let's see. All right. So our quarterback room. And these are not in order, so don't judge me on the order that they're placed out because this is just what it is. But this is my final 53-man roster projection for 2025. So right now in QB room, we got Geno Smith, Aiden O'Connell, and Cam Miller. Now, Aiden O'Connell has an asterisk next to his name because he went out with a fractured wrist, and he's expected to be out 6 to 8 weeks at least. And so we're probably going to end up trading for another backup quarterback because I don't think that they want to put Cam Miller in a position right now where he might end up being our starter. Pete Carroll made that pretty clear during his presser. And so we're probably going to end up with a Ryan Tannehill, a Tyler Huntley, a Jameis Winston, or Dorian Thompson Robinson, right? One of those guys is probably going to fill that slot, and Aiden O'Connell is going to go on the IR. And then when he gets healthy, we're going to see how things kind of shift around if we want to continue to have him on this roster or if the Raiders decide that they're going to move on from him. Our running back room right now, and this has changed a lot for me because Ashton Genty is by far our number one running back. It's going to happen. I'm not even worried about that. But running back number 2, Raheem Mostert and Zamir White on the depth chart are listed as it's Zamir White's name is first, and then it says or Raheem Mostert. So I think that they're in competition for the number 2 spot, and we saw a whole lot of both of those guys running in this last preseason game against the Cardinals. I think that both of them are going to make this roster, but honestly, I think that we're going to carry 4 running backs. And Chris Collier and Sincere McCormick, both of them ran pretty good. I like both of them. I really like Sincere McCormick a lot, but Dylan Laube, while he's not as good of a running back as Sincere McCormick, I believe that he has a whole lot to offer with special teams and in the passing game. I think that he's potentially going to be just our replacement for Amir Abdullah. And so I have Dylan Laube making this roster. So I believe we're going to hold 4 running backs, and I think Ashton Genty is number 1. Samir White was really making a case for himself to be number 2, and so we're going to see what that really, really looks like. Wide receivers. Now, the wide receiver room was a difficult one for me. I kept going back and forth, but this is what I stayed with. And remember, it's not in order, but I believe that we're going to go ahead and we're going to keep 7 receivers, right? Which is a hard decision, but I couldn't see cutting all of them, right? I would say if any of them, Shedrick Jackson is the most on the bubble out of all these guys, but man, did he really look good with Cam Miller, especially in that game against the Seahawks. So we'll see what that looks like. So I got Jacoby Myers. He's our clear number 1. Jack Besh, 2nd-round pick, has not really impressed. He has not looked very good. In training camp, there's been mixed notes about him, some good, some bad, some indifferent. And in preseason, he's been playing with the 2s, 3s later in the game, right? And so Jack Besh, he's going to make the roster. Dante Thornton Jr. had a great touchdown against the Cardinals with Geno Smith. He's going to be a starter. He was a 4th-round pick. Dante Thornton Jr., 6'5", runs a 4.3 40-yard dash, and I absolutely think that he's a great wide receiver. He runs good routes. He does have some development to do, but right now I believe he's our wide receiver 3. Then we got Trey Tucker. Trey Tucker, he's a bit shorter. I think he's like 5'9", honestly. Very fast dude. Everybody says that he's the fastest guy on the team. He's right now slated to be our wide receiver 2. We'll see how that develops. He might end up dropping down to 3, and Dante Thornton might be number 2. But Trey Tucker is definitely going to make this roster. I didn't like that he was receiving punts against the Cardinals in preseason. I thought that was a little bit weird, but it is what it is. Touchdown, Tommy Mellott. He is a rookie, 6th round. He was a quarterback in college, and then he got drafted as a wide receiver to the Raiders. I believe he's going to make this roster. He does offer in the receiving game. He offers a lot in special teams. He's going to make this roster. Like I said, Shedrick Jackson may or may not make this roster. I think that if anybody on this list does not make it, it's going to be him, at least at wide receiver. Alex Bachman, he definitely has been getting a lot of good reps. He's going into his 7th year in the NFL, and Pete Carroll's talking good about him. He really showed out in preseason. He's been showing out in training camp, and I do believe he's going to make this roster. All right, our tight end room. This one was kind of difficult for me because I like Carter Runyon, Justin Shorter. I feel like they're pretty good, but our tight end room, I believe we're going to hold 3 tight ends. Brock Bowers is clear-cut tight end 1 in the whole NFL. And then Michael Mayer, tight end number 2. And he is more of a true tight end. And he's been playing absolutely great through training camp. He's been playing great in the preseason. Chip Kelly really has a specific focus on how he wants to utilize him. And I'm really happy with what I see with this. Michael Mayer is a very good tight end, and we have not utilized him very well, but I believe that you're going to see his name getting called quite a bit this year. So I'm pretty happy about that. Ian Thomas. He's looked okay in the preseason. I thought we were going to get better out of him because in training camp, they kept saying his name, right? They kept saying good things about him, but I believe he's going to make this roster because we do have some sets where we have three tight ends out there at the same time. Now, Carter Runyon and Shedrick Jackson, I think, are both battling. They're on the bubble. They're both battling for a spot. And I wouldn't be too surprised if Carter Runyon ends up being our fourth tight end, and then Shedrick Jackson ends up not making the cut. But we will see what that actually looks like on Tuesday. Offensive line. Our offensive line has been pretty interesting, but it's moved around a bit, and I think that they looked pretty good, especially in this last preseason game. We had all our starters out there for the first couple of series, and they looked pretty good. So Colton Miller is going to be our left tackle. He's actually playing really good. He's very healthy right now, and I'm really liking what I'm seeing. Dylan Parham moving over back to left guard. I think he plays much better at left guard than he did at right guard, and honestly, he's a lock to be our starting left guard. He's looking great. Jackson Powers Johnson originally thought that he was going to be our center, but Jackson Powers Johnson, it has been announced today that Jackson Powers Johnson will be our right guard, our starting right guard for this, at least for week 1, right? And that is because Pete Carroll is very happy with how Jordan Meredith is playing at center. Now, I went back and I watched some tape. I watched the first 2 preseason games, and I was watching Jordan Meredith very closely and Jackson Powers Johnson. Jordan Meredith is playing damn good at center. He's a lot more vocal. He's a better communicator than Jackson Powers Johnson, and so he beat him out, man. And I'm not upset about that. I love Jackson Powers Johnson at center, but if he plays great at right guard and Jordan Meredith is playing very good at center, I think that gives us the best chance to succeed. And then we got DJ Glaze is going to be our right tackle. He's looking great. I'm liking what we're seeing in year 2 out of DJ Glaze. And then we got rookie Caleb Rogers and rookie Charles Grant. Both of them definitely going to make the roster. I didn't like how Caleb Rogers looked in preseason. Charles Grant looked pretty good while he was in there. And then I believe that Alex Kappa he's a guard, and I believe he's going to make this roster. I have Laki Tassi as an asterisk because he's an international pathways player. And so he doesn't count towards the 53-man roster. We're going to be carrying 54. And, his name is there. I do have Thayer Mumford getting cut. Thayer Mumford was playing right tackle during preseason, and he looked atrocious. He looked absolutely awful. I hated what I was seeing out of Thayer Mumford. And I couldn't justify giving him a roster spot. Now, I could see him playing better at guard than tackle, but we have several guards. We have depth on this O-line. I mean, right now was 8. We're keeping 9 linemen. You know what I'm saying? Like, I don't think that there's a spot for him. So I think that he goes to the practice squad and somebody's going to pick him up. And then Dalton Wagner is going back to the practice squad. Mountain of a man, but he's not showing the skill set that we need in order to justify giving him a roster spot. Special teams. This one's very simple. Daniel Carlson is our kicker. The sniper, as Max Crosby says. AJ Cole, best punter in the league. And then Jacob Bobemeyer as long snapper. Defensive edge. So this one was a little bit weird for me, and it kept changing. But Max Crosby, of course, he's making the roster. Malcolm Kuntz, I'm very happy with what I saw out of Malcolm Kuntz against the Cardinals. He did get a sack. He looked a whole lot faster off the line of scrimmage. And really, I did make a video saying that we should trade Malcolm Kuntz in a 3rd-round pick for Trey Hendrickson, and I stand by that. I absolutely stand by that. I believe that if we have an opportunity to get Trey Hendrickson, bring him in. Malcolm Kuntz is a big question mark. He's a big maybe. He's coming off of an injury. He had a knee injury. He had surgery. He was out all last season. 2 years ago, Malcolm Kuntz, when he got put in the last 9 games of the season after Antonio Pierce took over as interim head coach, Malcolm Kuntz got 8 sacks in 9 games. absolute great compliment to the opposite side of the line of Max Crosby. And I believe that he is going to be that guy this year again. I have a feeling that we're probably going to hold on to him, and that's just how it's going to go. So I really, really hope that he looks as good as he did against the Cardinals moving into the regular season. Then I got Tyree Wilson, who's actually kind of moving into defensive tackle. He is listed as an edge rusher still, but he looked absolutely great against the, when it comes to defensive tackle room, when he's playing defensive tackle, even he said himself, it's like the shortest route to get to the quarterback, right? He's not very fast, but he's very powerful. All preseason and all training camp, his name keeps coming up. He's disruptive. He's getting sacks. He's getting tackles for loss. And not only that, but he's blowing things up for other players to be able to get in there and make plays. Tyree Wilson has finally showed up, you guys, and I'm really, really excited to see it. I think our best defensive line is when we got Max Crosby, Adam Butler, Tyree Wilson, and Malcolm Kuntz. When we have those four on the front four, it's absolutely amazing. Charles Snowden is a guy I do have making this roster, although I thought he looked like crap during this preseason. So he's a guy that I have on the bubble because, for one, he got that DUI where they found him with his Jeep hanging over a ledge, and he was like 4 times the legal limit, super drunk, and I'm surprised we didn't cut him straight out the gate. And I actually am pissed off that he continued to play for us, that he's still on this roster. However, he did play pretty good for us last year, and so I have him making the roster, right? But he is also on the bubble. Andre Carter was a guy that I had getting cut, but and I know he's been playing with the 3s and 4s, but the dude has been disruptive. He's been getting sacks. When he's in the game, he's making plays. I have him making this roster. Defensive tackles. Now, defensive tackle, we actually have a pretty deep defensive tackle room. Christian Wilkins was cut. He is gone. Failure to follow the Raiders' suggestions when it came to getting surgery on his foot for a second time. He should have just done it. There was other character issues, locker room issues, a whole lot of Diddy pausing going on, right? So at defensive tackle, we got Adam Butler. He's a lock to make this roster. J.J. Pegues, he's a rookie. He's going to make this roster. He also doubles as a fullback, so watch out for that. I'm surprised that we didn't see any of that in preseason, but maybe they're holding on to that. Maybe they want people to forget. I don't know. Tonka Hemingway, him and Pegues were out of the rookies at defensive tackle. They were like ranked as some of the best rookie defensive tackles during preseason games this year. So I'm really happy to see that they're making the roster. I have Zach Carter making this roster, although I didn't see a whole lot of him during the preseason. And last year, I saw him showing up for us. So if he does not make it, I don't know how to say his name. Trevin May. I don't know how to say his name. But Trevin May, this guy, he was pretty disruptive. He did very good. And he is a possible replacement for Zach Carter on this list. Jonah Laulu, I have him making this roster. He kept showing up pretty good in the preseason. Good comments about him through training camp. And then Thomas Booker the fourth. We traded Jacorian Bennett to the Philadelphia Eagles to get Thomas Booker. And he looked decent during preseason since we picked him up. There's a little bit of hit and miss. I've seen it go both ways. There was times where I thought, man, this dude looks good out there. Then there was times where I'm like, why did we trade Jacorian Bennett for him? Because our corner room looks horrible. And I think that Jacorian Bennett, I don't know, man. There was rumors that he was like the 4th or 5th corner on our roster. But that's kind of hard to believe with the way that these guys have been playing. But I definitely have him making the roster, which puts our defensive tackle room a little bit too thick. Yeah, I get it. But we're running pretty deep at defensive tackle, especially because Tyree Wilson is taking a lot of snaps at defensive tackle. So I don't know what this is going to look like. I think that we have at least one player that's on the bubble on this list. Linebacking room. I absolutely love our linebacking room. This is like this was like my biggest concern during the offseason. When we lost Robert Spillane, Divine Diablo, I actually think he was a liability, so I'm glad he's gone. But when this happened, I was worried. And then we came in here and we picked up Landon Roberts, Devin White, which he's looking a whole lot better than he has in the past couple of years. And then Tommy Eichenberg has really been showing out in training camp. He looked decent in preseason games. But then we went out there and we got Jermaine Pratt, and I was super excited about that, right? I thought this is going to be our guy. But then out of nowhere, we end up with a Jamal Adams. And Jamal Adams is a dude that has not stayed healthy, and he has not been very productive for a couple of years. Before that, he was absolutely a beast. And he was a safety. Jamal Adams has converted to linebacker, and he is looking absolutely amazing out there. He's a dog. He's good in the locker room. He's a lot of things. He's a good leader, and I'm very, very happy that we have him on our roster right now. I'm super pumped about this, you guys. So, our linebacking room, I have us holding 5 linebackers. Jalen Smith, goodbye. Cody Lindenberg, going to be a practice squad guy. Same with Matt Jones. Amari Ferrari Gainer was difficult for me to kind of move on from, but where was he during preseason, right? And so this guy, he's going to get picked up by another team. It's going to happen. He's going to be gone. Our cornerback room. So we did trade off Jacorian Bennett. I have Caillou Blue Kelly making this roster, and actually I think that he's probably going to get the starting nod ahead of Darian Porter Jr., which I think is appropriate because Darian Porter is a rookie that just converted to cornerback. He was a wide receiver. And in his last year in college, he played cornerback. He's pretty good. He got beat a couple times against the Cardinals. He's fast. He's tall. Caillou Blue Kelly is going to make this starting job, I think. So he's played really good. He didn't play against the Cardinals because he was dealing with a hamstring. It was tender, and Pete Carroll didn't want to put him out there and get hurt. I understand that. And then Darian Porter, the rookie, 3rd-round pick, he's going to make the roster. Eric Stokes is supposed to be our cornerback 1. I haven't been extremely impressed, but we'll see how this goes. DeCamerion Richardson. Now, DCam, he's got the measurables. He's got a whole lot. He hasn't really impressed me, but there's a whole lot of talk about him making this roster. And then Darnay Holmes has been out with an injury, and so I don't know what's going on with him, but there's a whole lot of talk about Greedy Vance. And when Pete Carroll was asked about Greedy Vance, I think that was in this morning's presser, he was saying that they really like what they see from him. And so I could see him making this roster. Mello Dotson's already gone. Humphrey didn't look great out there. And then Sam Webb has looked awful during preseason. I remember when he used to be a starter for us. Times have changed. Okay. And then last but not least, our safety room. I'm actually pretty happy with what happened to our safety room. I really liked Marcus Epps. I really liked Trayvon Merrick. I was upset to watch both of them walk out the door. But that opened things up where we have Jeremy Chin, who he did get a pick in preseason. He did look good. He's going to be a starting safety for us. Isaiah Paul-Mao also got a pick. Looked pretty good during preseason. He's going to be a starter for us. And then Lonnie Johnson Jr. went down with an injury during training camp. It's an ankle injury. He's going to be out for a little bit. And so we went out there and we got Terrell Edmonds as a replacement for Lonnie Johnson Jr., and I believe that both those guys are going to make this roster. That puts us at 53 on our roster. You guys, let me know what you think about this 53-man roster projection. Take receipts, screenshots. I don't think Chris Smith is going to make the cut. Trey Taylor, I don't think he's going to make the cut. I would be surprised. You guys let me know when they actually put out the 53-man roster. I'm totally fine if you hit me up, email me, hit me on social media, or just join one of the lives and come in here and tell me if I was wrong or tell me if I was right. All right, I'm going to try to catch up with the chat a little bit, man. I'm way behind. Way behind. I don't even know where to start, man. I'm gonna do my best. Okay, this is the first name I don't recognize, so let's see. Yeah, Alex, so our tackling game was pretty awful. I'm not gonna lie. Scott says the front seven can make the back end look good. Positive necessary. Matty Groove with the follow salute. And really, that's why I wanted to pick up Trey Hendrickson, because if we are absolutely putting out an insane rushing game, then our corner room isn't going to have to work as hard. Our safeties aren't going to have to work as hard. They're going to look better as a result of that. But our front seven is looking pretty damn good. You know what I'm saying? Like, our linebacking room is great. Like, just right now, what we have is Max Crosby, Adam Butler, Tyree Wilson, and Malcolm Kuntz rushing, right? And if you throw a blitz in with Jamal Adams on top of that, drop everybody else back, I like it. I like it. Our linebackers can do everything except for cover. You know what I'm saying? Coverage game and linebacking room is not great, but run stopping ability, pass rushing ability, I love what I see. I'm very happy about it. Let's see. Guarb is saying, please to God, Ryan Tannehill is 37, hasn't played football in years. Is this a joke? No, it's the Raiders. That's right. Ryan Tannehill would not be a starter for us. He would be a backup. He's an experienced quarterback in this league. That's what Pete Carroll's looking for. I wouldn't be upset if Ryan Tannehill came in as a backup at all. He'd be cheap. You wouldn't have to give up any draft capital for him. It makes total sense to me. Alex saying, I still don't have that much confidence in Samir. I really don't either, man. I'm not the biggest Samir White fan. Originally, I didn't have it making this 53-man roster. In fact, I was a big advocate for him getting cut and us keeping Sincere McCormick instead of him. But in preseason, he looked a whole lot better. And then Pete Carroll really likes him for some reason. I think he's showing a lot during training camp. And really, he's our only power back, really. I mean, because Ashton Genty doesn't really run a power scheme, right? I mean, he can. I mean, the dude is just trucking the crap out of defenders, and it's preseason, you know? I can only imagine the hits he's going to lay down in a normal season, but Samir White's going to make this roster, and I really hope that he shows up because last year he was awful, right? The year before that, he really he played 4 games at the end of the season before we got rid of Josh Jacobs. That he absolutely looked great, and it was like, oh yeah, we don't need Josh Jacobs. This guy could be our guy. And then we got rid of Josh Jacobs, and it didn't translate. Didn't look right. You know what I'm saying? Alex saying linebackers not named Jamal need to do better as well. I can't really argue with that very much, except Landon Roberts looked great out there. Devin White, I don't have huge expectations for him. Tommy Eichenberg looked pretty decent. And it's also preseason, right? So people aren't really putting their best out there unless they're fighting for a roster spot. I'm happy with our linebacker, honestly. Yeah, I have us keep him a lot. I think he's going to make the roster. Josh Dobbs. Raiders 510. Josh Dobbs is on a roster somewhere. Joshua Dobbs, which would be an amazing option. He's on the Patriots. Yeah, Patriots. He's over there backing up Drake May. Yeah, Alec, the whole thing about keeping Bachman or Jackson is that we do have a couple other spots where we might go ahead and keep another defensive player instead. Or they decide that they want their Mumford instead, which I don't really like that very much. But Scott, Devin White isn't built to be a workhorse. He's a better complementary linebacker, and I agree to that. And I like the fact that we're not depending on him to be number one or even number two, really. Let's see. Kappa is not still out with an injury. Alex Kappa did play in this last preseason game. Um, wasn't any big flashes from him, but he was out there. And I don't think our O line is that bad. You know what I'm saying? Like a lot of people keep jumping all over our offensive line, and it's really not that bad. It's really, really not. Let's see. Joyner. Is that who you're talking about, Alec? Because I had him making the 53 man because there was a lot of talk about him during training camp, but during preseason, it's like I didn't see his name called once. I don't even actually remember seeing him out there. So if it's that bad, yeah, I have to go back and check it out. But I don't know. Let's see. I answered that. Raider Aid, that Caillou Blue, he wasn't in last game. He was dealing with a hamstring injury. And yeah, Victor Stroud did have a slump year in his sophomore season, but I wouldn't count him out. The dude's a good quarterback. He had a great rookie year, not as good of second year. I would still take him over Geno Smith, honestly, and I like Geno Smith. So, there's that. See, another one about from Guarb about no Tannehill. He's old, hasn't played in years. What do you guys think? He just after saying no slow white QBs go even worse than O'Connell. I feel like I talked to a wall. So the thing is with him is that he'd be a backup, right? And he's faster than O'Connell. Every year he's had like 200 some rushing yards, which O'Connell's never going to get that, right? And so what we're seeing out of Tannehill is better than O'Connell, and he's an experienced veteran that has a lot to offer, especially when it comes to practices and being a backup, you know? And maybe he speaks Geno Smith's language, right? Maybe Geno Smith will feel younger with Tannehill in the building, right? And he can be like, oh, okay, I'm not the old man, and maybe maybe that help him a little bit, man. Let me see. Yeah, Tannehill won't last 4 games, get hurt in practice, putting on a uniform. Hey, man, Tannehill is almost my age, right? I'm 38, and I get it, right? Like putting on a jersey sometimes, man, I could see ending up with a shoulder injury or something. It's the body just don't work the way that it used to, you know what I'm saying? But these guys are in better shape. Let's see. Vic Mac Steel, hope Booker pans out because I feel like Bennett had so much potential, wasn't consistent on the field. I mean, he was the closest that we had to a lockdown corner last year. And I really like Jacorian Bennett, but I really hope that Booker pans out. Yeah, and Alec, you're correct. Roberts can't play shit for coverage. That's totally accurate, but he is a good linebacker. Let's see. Raiders need to trade for Brown, CB Newsome. Honestly, I think that we're going to roll forward with the cornerback room that we have. It is what it is, man. Hunkaroo better than Geno? Who are you talking about? Tannehill? Because I don't think Tannehill's better than Geno Smith. Or are we talking about when I said CJ Stroud? Because I do think CJ Stroud is a better quarterback than Geno Smith. Alec Trey Taylor may make it. There's a possibility, but honestly, I don't even have Harper making this roster. And there was a whole lot of talk about Harper being one of them dudes. So I don't know. Let's see. Warb said, but it's about doing better. DTR is young, and who knows, the kid could be great and have him as our starter. Forget Tannehill. He's Chip Kelly QB blows my mind when Raider fans and relationships, but not QB. So the only thing that gets me is about what Pete Carroll was saying, and DTR is on my list of names to watch out for. And I'm going to repeat it again: Ryan Tannehill, Tyler Huntley, um, Jameis Winston, and Dorian Thompson Robinson. Those are the four names that I think that we really need to watch out for, because I think that those are the four most likely quarterbacks for the Raiders to pick up. Warb said, yeah, it's not about feelings like fans did with AOC. Feelings over winning never works. So Gino, who cares about his age, to a younger QB. I don't have any attachment to Geno Smith when it comes to like feelings, man. Let's say Dorian Thompson Robinson comes to this roster as a backup, and then he kind of just beats out Geno Smith for the job, or Geno Smith gets hurt, and DTR takes over and plays better. I'm not nobody over the shield. Absolutely nobody over the shield. If we ended up with uh, Andre Carter or somebody like that stealing Max Crosby's job, I'm not going to be mad about it. It's about best man up, and that's what it comes down to, right? So, you guys, I've been on for over an hour. I'm going to go spend the rest of the Sunday with my family, man. Back to work tomorrow. You guys have been a great chat, both on TikTok and on YouTube. Salute to you guys like always. I love you, nation. I'll catch you on the next one.